Bonjour, vous êtes avec Nilu, un sommelier de Sonoma, et Henrik, un vigneron de Napa. Nous parlons de vin français d'une manière super facile et amusante. Suivez-nous et écoutez pendant que nous explorons différentes régions de la France, partagez des bouteilles à moins de $50 dont vous n'avez peut-être pas entendu parler, mais que vous voudrez certainement saisir et déguster. C'est la France dans un verre par California Tastings.
Hello, welcome to Beyond the Pour with California Tastings. This is our Wine Wednesday, and we're doing France in a glass because we just love French wine, right? I'm here with my friend Henrik Poulsen, who's a very well-known winemaker out of Napa. Cheers, sir.
Cheers.
I am Nilu, your sommelier host, and we're going to talk about a really cool bottle today. Right?
Yeah.
Well, first we gotta drink. Hold on. We're gonna do this the right way.
Or taste, perhaps.
We can't say drink. We're very prim and proper. But oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful. So as we have done so far, where we've done a conversation on Chablis, we've done a conversation on Fransac, and what else did we do? We've done a few of these now.
Yeah, I think we did a Beaujolais as well.
Exactly. Beautiful. Yes.
Then Burgundy, Pouilly-Fuissé, if memory serves.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of good stuff. It has been until now centered around France, but and I'm totally fine continuing that theme.
Yeah. And so I thought, you know what, we need to look at something from Cote du Rhone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of picking little areas, and the point of this is to find you guys wine that is really underrated, really good, in our opinion. Anyways, we're not talking about the 100-point system or anything like that. We're just talking about what Henrik and I like, and we're hoping that you kind of trust us with this. And what we picked today is a Cote du Rhone Village, right? So that's a little bit higher level. And tell us about this wine, Henrik.
Well, so if we start a little bit on the classification, so in Cote du Rhone, the lower level, I probably shouldn't use the word lower level, but let's say the basic level is called AOC. So it's called Cote du Rhone AOC. Then if you move up in quality, you have Cote du Rhone Village, and then at the very top you have Cote du Rhone Cru. So this is kind of in the middle of the quality spectrum. There's only 22 villages that are allowed to put their name behind Cote du Rhone Village. So this is a specific bottle is from a village called de Dieu. And it kind of gives you an indication of what quality level you are at. And again, to your point of picking wines that we like, when you pick this one, I have to smile because I kind of knew the price points. And again, you and I, we're not here to pick out the most expensive wines and so on. So when you mentioned the price, I was actually a little surprised of how affordable it was. And I'll let you spill the beans here. And
yeah, you're so right. And what's even funnier is that I recorded another podcast a few days ago with a friend who is a sommelier, and she's in New Zealand. And so hopefully I'll edit that, get it out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But we talked about tasting wine together. She's like, Nilu, let's talk about the Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. I'm like, absolutely makes sense. What should I pick up? And she says, well, get the Cloudy Bay. I said, sure. I've always heard it. I've tasted it, but I haven't tasted it for a while. So I went to Total Wine. I'm in California. We're in California, Sonoma County, Napa area. And so I went over. I just want to let you know, this is so funny. The Cloudy Bay cost me $34. And this dude, the Cote du Rhone Village, de Dieu, Saint Mapalis, 2023 cost me around $25.
Yeah.
Weird. This ain't weird. What do you think?
Again, I mean, it's the QPR quality price range, as we always like to get most for our money, is just stunning. I mean, $25 for a bottle of primarily Grenache based wine from the south of France.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat, and especially when the quality is at this level. And I do have to throw in the producer here as well. This is not a pitch in any way, but
No, thank you for talking about that.
but yes, Gabriel Meffre, very big négociant. And négociant is the French word for a broker that buys up bulk wine from the entire region. Some of it can be made by their own staff, but mostly it's purchased wines that are made from other producers. This is a huge producer. So
Yeah.
again, it kind of brings me back to when we were tasting the last segment we did. The producer was Louis Chateau,
Yes.
and Louis Chateau is a big négociant in Burgundy, and Gabriel Meffre is a very big négociant in the Rhone. So I compliment you for being able to pick producers that, despite volume, actually have some very, very good wines in their portfolio.
Thank you. Yeah, as always, I'm trying to research it, make things that, pick up things that we can taste, and both of us are going to say, wow, for this price range, fabulous, fabulous wine to pick up.
Yeah.
So it was funny, once you start talking about things, maybe I was talking loud or something, the computer system picked up what I was talking about. Suddenly I see this snippet about a master of wine talking about a GSM. So GSM, by the way, is Grenache Syrah Mourvèdre. We're going to talk about that more in a second. But they asked him to come up with 3 words to describe something like this, even a Chateauneuf de Pape or something like that. And I believe he said robust, smooth, and what was the other thing he said? There was one more thing, but smooth for sure stood out to me. I have to think what he said: robust, smooth, floral, maybe? I can't remember, but it was something like 3 words that actually describes this GSM.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you feeling about the color when you're looking at this?
Well, so if I may backtrack a little bit on what you said there, so I think it kind of lends itself to a little bit the alcohol level in these wines. So by law, you have to be if it's on a village level, you have to be above 12.5% alcohol on the red ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's most producers will keep it around 13.5 or so. And I think by kind of limiting your alcohol level,
Mm-hmm.
you allow the fruit to shine a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're referring to robust wine and so on, I can totally see that. But I would even add that this red fruitiness, this energy that I am always looking for in a wine, that really shines through in a wine like this. And another compliment to you, Nilu, here today, the serving temperature. That you we're sitting in a chilled wine cellar, and you have the wine perfectly chilled. And I think that also lends itself to a wine that is full of energy, full of fruit, full of life, and I think it enhances the enjoyment of the wine. I believe that there's too often that I'm served the red wine and it's too warm.
Well, when they started talking about room temperature, I've heard from a number of people in the som world and whatever, people that know wine. They're like, room temperature in the olden days was different to room temperature in these days. So yeah, I actually did put this in the fridge for a little bit.
Yeah.
I brought it out about 45 minutes ago. And I'm like, I don't know what it is, but when I'm drinking, I drink GSM a lot. Um, and even Spanish wines, I'll just chill them a little bit. I feel like it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
And I think this was really great at the temperature we got it.
Yeah, no, it's spot on. And if I may throw in a little tidbit here, it was actually just announced on the news today, so we're sitting early July of 26, that the trade organization in Cote du Rhone actually are planning a new campaign where they want to attract younger consumers, and they do it with a serving suggestion on the temperature of chillable reds.
I love it.
And I think that is spot on what we're detecting in this wine. It's not fridge cold, but it's below it's probably around 50 degrees.
Yeah.
And I think it really enhances all the fruitiness that you find in this wine. So
I love it. Yeah.
so spot on.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And let's talk a little bit about, this is also known as being an intense wine. I'm not sure what they mean by this. Do you know what they mean when they say intense? Because it seems to me that if I was going to use a word, I would say more mellow. But what are they meaning when they say that, really?
So, of course, then there's all different kinds of definition on what a wine can be. With this and intense, I would probably say that that lends itself to the component of Syrah that is blended into this wine, because primarily, if you're in Cote du Rhone, you need to be above or at least 50% of Grenache, and then the rest can be either Mourvèdre or Syrah. There's allowed other varietals as well, but at least 50% needs to be Grenache. Now, Grenache by itself, that's not necessarily a very concentrated grape. However, Syrah is and can be a very concentrated grape. So I am guessing that the proportion of Syrah in this wine is probably a little bit higher than you find in other wines.
I agree.
And that gives it that dark fruitiness and
Yeah,
almost concentration, despite its fairly low alcohol.
that's it. And you said the alcohol was about 14.
I think we're probably around 13.5, something like that.
But that's seem light, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's on the fact. I just have something.
You give me somewhere. There it is.
Yeah.
You were right. 14.5.
Yeah, I just thought 14, but definitely seems like.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at these three grapes, I'm just going to throw in a couple of thoughts for our listeners. When you're picking up a bottle of Grenache, yeah, you can see it 100% Grenache, but probably in America you won't too much. But you're looking for ripe strawberry and raspberry. That is really what Grenache is known for. Then you've got the Syrah grape, which is very interesting. Black pepper, blackberry, gives us a lot of spicy notes, some herbaceous notes even. And then Mourvèdre, you've got dark fruit and earthy components. And I have no idea, I should research this, why I know these three grapes grow there, but they just go well together. They complement each other beautifully. Percentages, I'm not sure in this bottle, I should have looked it up. But they do wonderful, and this is known as a GSM. If you're looking for a bottle to try from Cote du Rhone, whether it's Village or regular Cote du Rhone, the person selling it to you can help you with that.
Yeah. And then to your point of the GSM, so Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre, the GSM, we are in the region of south of France, the Châteauneuf-du-Pape. We have all these varietals down there. I think 14 are now allowed in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So picking 3 out and actually having a perfect blend or a perfect mix That does take some skills, but sure. But to your point, I think they complement each other because you have different components, different characteristics of each varietal that when you blend them together, that kind of shows the style of the region because you have a lot of herbs. The French call it garrigue. You have all these elements of herbs, spices, and this wine in particular, I was reading up a little bit on it. It doesn't really see much oak. So this is it's fermented in stainless steel and kept bottled fairly early on, so not put back into an oak barrel or something. It's that gives it a lightiness on the palate, at least to my perspective. But it also gives it intensity of flavors because you have all this this fruitiness concentrated, and that's the thing that when I'm in my day gigs or making blends of wine, I feel that often you can lose a little bit of fruit while keeping it in barrel because the aging process of barrel aged that takes away a little bit from that freshness and fruitiness. So
Absolutely. And that's what they're going for, right?
totally.
They don't want it to be overtaken by oak,
Yeah.
I'm presuming. Okay.
Yeah.
And then just kind of talking about, we always talk about where these areas are on the map. All of them that we've talked about, and this is no different. And we're talking about if you look at where Burgundy is and you come down past Lyon, and you come further down, that's why you were kind of saying south of France. You've got the region of Cote du Rhone. And Cote du Rhone is divided specifically into two sections. You've got Northern Rhone. A lot of people, talk about the Syrah there, and you've got Southern Rhone, which seems to be Grenache, but a lot of other blends coming. And just one of these days, we're going to taste the Chateauneuf de Pape, which is just an incredible story. What would you say the reason was that for Chateauneuf de Pape, they come up with these different grapes to throw in there? Was it because things were freezing and some grapes were, not able to be used? What's the reason with those 14 or more?
I can't give you the exact reasoning behind them allowing these 14 different varietals, but out of necessity and kind of like a safety policy when we as winemakers here in Napa and Sonoma, we want to hedge our bets. So we go out, we source a lot of different varietals in order to have something just in case we have a challenging growing season where, say, fruit set on Merlot is not as ideal as it should be, or Malbec is maybe not producing the cluster sizes that we are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
All these factors, it's kind of like insurance.
Spontaneous blend, right?
So I think it would be the same in Chateauneuf de Pape, why you have these different varietals. So in case something in a growing season doesn't perform up till its absolute best, then you have an option of blending something else into it.
I love that. And it's such a fabulous wine. Now, talking about the region as a whole, we're talking hot Mediterranean sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking cooling Mistral winds.
Yeah.
What do the Mistral winds bring for us?
So in this area of France, when you go out in the vineyards, you will see a striking thing. You're literally walking on big, not pebble stones, but round-shaped stones. And what they do for a vineyard or for grapevines is that they will soak up the warmth and the sun during the day, and then slowly release that temperature overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps with the Mistral, the breeze that comes in from the Mediterranean. because that will normally cool off grapes. But you have that indirect heat from the stones released during night, and that keeps it kind of like a modest level of ripening. And it's kind of awkward because here or when we're winemakers in Napa and Sonoma are talking, we are talking about a big diurnal shift. So the temperature shift between day and night temperature can be extreme, especially in Napa. It can be up to 50, 60 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So in Rhone, you have a little bit more moderate and consistent ripening climate. And I think that's, again, it's different varietals than we're working with in, say, Napa and Sonoma. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so the other thing to think about is clay there's clay that stores water during these dry periods. Okay. But what you mentioned, which I don't know, but it actually comes through the taste of the wine to me. The garrigue, the almost like stony, mossy flavor comes through for me. And these are big stones, like you said. They absorb the heat from the sun during the day and then release it at night, helping the grapes to ripen basically. Remember, we're in France, we're not in California, where it gets pretty cold. The cooler climate kind of thing going on. Right? So it's just incredible that they figured all this out.
Yeah. And again, I mean, in a region like this, it's a fairly big growing region or growing area. So just the Cote du Rhone AOC, which is the lower level, that accounts for, I believe it's more than 400 million cases of wine. So we're talking vast areas here. But over those that large of an area, you actually have pockets here and there of truly unique soils. So there can be subsoils. You can find limestone in Rhone.
Yeah,
that brings similarity to what we see up in Champagne. And you mentioned clay, alluvial soils, raised seabeds, things like that. It all adds to the character of the region. And
yeah.
Cote du Rhone has a few high spikes or mountains, I should say mountain tops. But it's
Plains, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So you have Mont de Mirail, you have Côte de Ventoux, a couple of high risers there that stands out.
Yeah.
But most of the area is leveled. So the subsoils are really what gives the character to the wines. And then of course age of vines. That's another thing where France is a little bit of ahead of us over here. We tend to replant every, say, 30 to 40 years possibly on the longer existing vineyards. In France, south of France, you can easily find vines that are over 100 years old.
I love it. Now, the thing I wanted to talk about a little bit about this label. So the producer is Gabriel Meffre. And then what it says on this bottle, you guys, needs a little bit of research, I'm going to say. Saint Mapalis, so Saint Mapalis, basically. And I had to look this up, and basically it's then telling us, yes, there is homage to the saint that was known in the Rhone Valley. But when they also do this, they're talking about it being a cuvée, I guess. Okay. And then the other thing that's on this label, Plan de Dieu. So this is super cool. And when I was at the store and I was looking at this, I'm like, what, I started looking it up on my phone, and Plan de Dieu. So Plan de Dieu, plateau or plain of God, plateau of God. I'm like, that's a cool story, right?
Yeah.
And then you start trying to find out, why are they naming it these things? And so we're just going to break it down. The Plan de Dieu is a specific village appellation, and it's recognized for its distinct quality and terroir. And if you have heard the word terroir, um, you kind of may know what it means. If you don't, let's just talk about it real quick. Can you explain terroir?
Terroir is it's a tough one to explain because it includes so many things, but it's basically a unique place. And from that unique place, just like we have it in Napa Valley, where you have, say, Oakville, where you have Rutherford, you have St. Helena. These are our expressions of terroir. And you will find something unique from, say, the Rutherford cab that you don't necessarily will find in an Oakville cab. So,
Right.
So I think the French have coined the term terroir, and they don't really want us to explain it because it is so unique in French that it's very difficult. But yeah, it includes microclimates, macroclimates, all these specifics. And you can literally tie it down to single vineyards where you have this expression of special expression.
It's almost like one of those words that you can't translate, and the French want us to use the word terroir. But at the same time, it's such a cool word.
It is. It is.
Because you're like, oh, okay, what's going on here? What's the weather like? What's the slope like? What's the soil like? What's happening? And I love that word. I don't know what to say. I love that word. It's a cool word to use when we're talking about specific locations. And this, the other thing I want to say, Cote du Rhone Village. You mentioned Village is the higher end areas, for the towns or whatever, where the soil, where the vineyards are. I want to also describe what Côte means, what du Rhone, and we talked about village. Côte means what?
Basically means slope.
Okay.
So these are the slopes of Rhone. You have it also in Burgundy. You have the Côte de Nuit. You have Côte de Beaune, the slopes of Beaune. So Côte is roughly just a slope, and it's not that simple that that you can imagine a mountain and then you see the slopes of the mountain. So Côte de Rhone is as mentioned earlier, it's a huge area,
Right.
And it accounts for a lot of wine production. But again, it's fairly unique because you are in this region. You are demanded by law to have at least 50% Grenache in it. So you will never find, or I should say, never, doesn't exist in France either. But you rarely find a Côte du Rhone that has the official approval that will primarily be Syrah-based. Then they will have to declassify it to get it in the bottle.
Right.
And there's few producers that is willing to take that road, but they do exist.
Yeah. And then, so we talked about everything on this label. The Côte du Rhone, the village we talked about. We mentioned the Saint Mira. Let me say that. Mapalis. Sorry, Saint Mapalis. Kind of, if you see one of these, it's a cuvée, which means blend. Let's talk about Plan de Dieu. I kind of mentioned it. Plain of God, Plateau of God. Why are they making it sound so friggin' amazing? What is going on there? Something cool's happened. So the story I looked up, I want to hear what you say. Says centuries ago, this area was covered with dense forests full of bandits. Travelers crossing it were said to put themselves under God's protection. Over time, the name became Plan de Dieu, which means God's plain. There are a number of stories. This is what when I was researching. This was the one that I went with. I'm like, I like this story, so I went with it. But it's one of the largest named village within the Cote du Rhone village appellations. So if you see this, grab the bottle, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's specifically with Planted Dieu. So they were allowed to be included in the Cote du Rhone Village back in, I believe it was 2005. And then in 2011, they actually were allowed to use their name at the very end of Cote du Rhone Village, Planted Dieu. So people within that 6-year span, there was just so many high-end producers in that area that they said, well, this is unique enough that we will allow them to actually put their name of the village on the label. Wow. Yeah. It is, like you mentioned, Nilu, it is one of the biggest areas or villages down there. I think it comes close to 2,500 acres.
Yeah, I believe that's it.
Total of planted. And you have this, you have limestones, you have these cobbles, these round stones spread around in the vineyards as well. So it is quite a unique area and a town village. There's plenty of other. I believe there's 22 villages that are allowed to put their name on a village. Some of them ranks from just a few acres. Up to these 2,500 acres. So it's definitely one of the bigger areas down there, but quite unique.
So the second this label turns from Cote du Rhone to Cote du Rhone Village, we straight away think, okay, higher quality, terroir is a little bit better, and the price point goes up.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always difficult for me to kind of say just because we are in a specific region area that results necessarily in higher quality, but it is again with the classification system in France, you literally sit down in these grape growing organizations, and then it will not grant you approval to put a name on it unless it's really is a unique product from that region. So there is a reason that this specific bottle has the Planted Dieu, the name of the village on, and it's not just clever marketing. It actually also shows in the wine. So again, back to my point of AOC, Cote du Rhone AOC, the lowest level. That is a lot of acres. I think we're talking total of 185,000 acres, and then versus the 2,500 just from this specific village. So this is a drop in the bucket in the bigger scheme, but it's definitely a very tasty drop.
It is a good drop. That's all we can say. I want to talk a little bit about what we're picking up, and I know you're like, I just make the wine. But generally speaking, what we pick up and what we compare it with. So this is how we say black fruit, red fruit. This is more red fruit. And I'm gonna say this is kind of medium bodied. So I always tell my students that when I do these 2-hour wine classes, and they're like, what is body? Why do you keep talking about body all the time? It's just a fun way to evaluate the wine, right? And the way I look at it is if you had non-fat milk, 2% milk, and whole milk in front of you, and you had this little, starting point, middle point, and end point, where would this be? A lot of it is on the texture in your mouth. You can kind of look at the texture in your mouth, and I'm thinking this is medium bodied. Would you agree with that?
I would. I do also want to throw out there that the more and more I get accustomed with different wine styles, in different varietals, different vintages, and so on, I think for me, a red line that I see through is how well it pairs with food.
Right.
So this for me would definitely be a food pairing wine. It has all the characteristics of something that will enhance flavors in foods and actually complement dishes rather than detract from the overall enjoyment. And I think a wine like this, despite it being 14% alcohol, I think it balances. It has a great balance that will complement foods very well. So again, I think you're spot on when you mentioned the red fruit. There's also this almost like a salty character to the wine, and I'm wondering if that comes from the Syrah, which I often find a little bit on the red. The more blue fruits and black fruits.
Yeah, from the Syrah is going to be more of the black fruit. I definitely agree. I was just looking at it, and I think definitely ruby red, but you don't notice it being a Syrah in the glass, where you kind of can go a little bit more towards purple. But definitely it's got some blackberry. It's definitely got some dark fruit as well. I'm not going to say it doesn't. The other thing I pick up, Henrik, is licorice. Do you pick that up?
And I think that's where my reference to salt comes in, because that's I'm born and raised in Denmark, and we're notorious for the salty licorice. Yeah, so I often associate the licorice flavors with something that is a little bit on the salty side.
Yeah, and then when you take a sip right now, and take a sip, there's one thing that I'm picking up. I want to see if you agree. When you swallow this, you feel a little bit of black olive. And I think that's where, for me, so that kind of salty, olivey, definitely black olive, not green. Do you pick that up?
Yeah, I can see that. So often when you cure olives, you have this. You can do it either in a salt brine, or in caustic soda. But both of those kind of gives that saltiness. So maybe that's where I'm picking that up.
Yeah,
as well. But yeah, you're right.
Right, that's what I pick up, and so as I'm tasting this, and I said red fruit, I think it's got both. I honestly think I'm gonna retract from what I said. I think it's red fruit and black fruit. Now, for all the wine students starting their education, or people that are not even interested in that, remember, we're not throwing, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries in here. It's a lot to do with the grape. It's a lot to do with the yeast. It's a lot to do with the way it's made. And we want to have a reference for our brains how to talk about this. So this is what we're picking up, basically, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, I say this, I think every time we get together, that taste is so individual. So I sure don't want to go out there and say this wine tastes of this and this and this.
Exactly.
Because I think it's up to the consumers, the wine lovers to kind of differentiate and see what they find in the wines themselves. But yeah, I think the general consensus is that when you talk about fruit, it's safe to kind of compartmentalize it and say this is red fruit versus blue fruit versus black fruit, and whatever comes out of those different expressions, that can be very unique. And
because absolutely number one thing that you and I both try to talk about whenever we're doing any classes or you're talking in front of people about winemaking, one of the things that has been happening in the wine world is we're telling people too much about this is what you're picking up. So, and they're like, oh yeah, that's what I'm picking up. So basically, you assess it yourself, you enjoy it yourself, you decide what temperature you want to drink it. It's really very subjective. You do what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Since we're on video, we're kind of just trying to throw out some ideas and kind of explain the wine. But it definitely has such interesting aromas and flavors that you could pair it with some delicious, I'm going to say some stew, some barbecued meat. What do you think? Some lamb?
I lamb for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking initially some charcuterie,
Oh my gosh, yes.
some pâtés. I probably would not really go with cheeses with this, but that's a personal preference because I think this wine needs to be allowed to shine and complement, and I think a fatty cheese would kind of overpower this.
Yes, yes, agreed.
So something a little bit on the salty side, and then you mentioned olives before. Often with charcuterie, you are exposed to olives or cornichons, the small cucumbers on the salty side, and I think along those lines, that would be my choice. But I would even delicious pizza would get the spot as well.
I honestly don't mind it with a pizza or Thanksgiving dinner. It's definitely got so many. It's not heavy in the way that like a Cabernet Sauvignon would be. So it allows you to kind of like salami would be great. I think on that cheese board, some feta, some maybe some some good crackers, salty crackers, some salami, and then if your friend is having a martini, just grab the olives kind of thing. That's what I would do anyways. And it's honestly up to you. But the tannins are pretty soft. It's not like your big, bold cab, that you're like, wow, my mouth is super dry.
No.
Right?
Spot on. Yeah. And I think, again, that is a thing that when people are talking wine and tasting wine, then they often have a tendency to say, well, because it's bigger, it needs to be more powerful, it needs to be more concentrated to be enjoyable. And I'm actually slightly in the other camp where I want something that is a little bit lighter and because it allows the fruit to shine.
Yeah.
The tannin structure in this is, I would totally agree with you. It's on the medium bodied side, but then all the fruit that fills in the glass and on the palate, that is something that really gives me enjoyment because it has all these flavors, all these components of an elegant wine, something that has energy, and that's a word that I always find myself coming back to. Something that is alive and brings you back for another sip. Not a blockbuster wine that hits you in the head with like 16% alcohol, and where after 2 sips your palate is so coated with tannins and color pigments that you can barely pick up a third glass. This one, I could enjoy it all day long, and especially at the room or at the temperature you served it.
I love it. I don't think I can say anything more on top of that, apart from the fact that it has a beautiful bouquet on the nose. Very important for me. Do you notice that what is it when some wines don't have that? Why do some wines not have that beautiful perfume? Always like this.
It can be several reasons, but often varietal is the main trigger in aromatics on a wine.
Yeah.
It can also derive from winemaking. Delivered reduction in a wine, and reduction is the opposite of oxidation, where the yeast has had too much oxygen. In reduction, that's something that detracts from the aromatics of the wine, but yeah, I think generally for me, it's the upbringing, it's the fermentation, and if you keep it in stainless steel, I know that doesn't really sound so romantic as seeing a wooden barrel in a cellar, but keeping it in a stainless steel tank or even a keg, that preserves the fruit. And then, wow, when you open that keg or stainless steel barrel, those spirits that are in there, they just want to get out and hit your nose in the field. That's something that gives me goosebumps when I'm around in the cellars and tasting fermenting lots and so on.
I bet.
That there's always something new when you get into a new lot, and yeah.
I love that. I love that. So cheers to this beautiful Cote du Rhone. I'm so happy we got to taste this together, talk about it. Always fun to obviously talk to you, but always fun also to learn about these little areas that usually who has time, right? And then you get a bottle and you're like, well, what the hell's in here? Me being a lover of GSMs, I try to pick them up whenever I'm at a store. But I think you just described it so beautifully, and the area. And I want to finish off, Henrik, by just doing a little chat about Napa. How is everything over there? I was driving around, actually driving to Napa, and I stopped at a video of some vineyards. The little grapes, the baby grapes are out. How's it looking?
It's I don't want to sound like the traditional car salesman here, but it's going to be another great vintage for Napa. That being said, we're slightly on the earlier side this year.
Yeah.
I think we're probably around 10, 14 days ahead of normal schedule. What I've also seen out there this year is a little bit of a shadow, as we call it, and that means that the clusters are not uniform; they're not even-sized berries, and that goes back to the temperature and the weather systems that we had in March. So a little bit of chicks and hens, we call them. Different sized berries on the clusters.
And I love that.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. If you are a hands-on winemaker, you know what to do.
Right.
If you rely on traditional systems and just do everything on what I like to call autopilot, you're going to have some issues this year. But
Wow.
But the gifted winemakers out there, they will know how to handle this vineyards this vintage.
Yeah.
And I think again for me, I like to pick off years as my favorites because I think that shows where the winemaking skills are, and I think this is going to be a vintage for the winemakers rather than for the varietals.
Good to know. And you're going to continue to do your Cabernet Sauvignon, your release wine?
I always have something going on, and around harvest time, it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
But specifically for release, since you're asking, we are switching around the brand a tiny bit. So because I was unfortunate and lost my fruit source back in 2020, so what I have been doing since then has not been offered to my mailing list, but I am working on it's going to be under the release label. It's going to have a different color and a different design, and I'm very excited because I'm picking up the labels in about 2 weeks from now, and there will be a 2023 Cabernet Sauvignon, one barrel, which derives from a very, very established and pronounced vineyard up in St. Helena. I can't give you the name because I've signed an NDA on that, but it's something that's going to be very, very unique. And for those that are on my website and on my mailing list, you're going to like the price point because it will be slightly different from what I did when I was sourcing exclusively from Atlas Peak. So more to come on that note. But,
Wow, I'm excited now.
yeah, it's gonna.
And the label's gonna look different.
I'm changing the color, and normally I would put a blue wax medallion on.
Yeah.
As of the last design that I have, it's going to be an orange implementation that will be embossed in the label. And but yeah, that's you can find more info on that on my website.
I love it. And that is www.release
Winery.com.
winery.com.
Yeah.
And so that's how they get hold of you if they want to get on that list, basically, as soon as we can. Wow, this has been super fun. Want to just once again say we are California Tastings. We do events, we do experiences, we do mixology classes and wine classes. We absolutely get excited about all that stuff. And last year we started this podcast, Beyond the Pour. I think I love this France in a Glass more than anything else that I've done, because I get to taste these amazing wines, and I also get to get all the information out of you. So it's fantastic.
And I love the invitation from you. You're my favorite song. So
Thank you so much
for including me.
Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
And cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching and listening. This is Beyond the Pour by California Tastings. Here for all your somm needs in California. To listen to other episodes, you can find us on YouTube and all the platforms where podcasts are played. Be sure to like, subscribe, and let us know what you enjoyed about the episode. We can't wait to hear from you soon. Cheers.